Does Zilliqa have huge potential in the upcoming bull market? Is it likely to go to new all-time high, or is it going to fall short? In today's video, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts and opinions on the macro picture for the ZIL token, sharing my 2025 price prediction. As I get into today's video, if you do find it useful and informative, smash that like button. If you are new to the channel, subscribe, and let's take a look at what's going on with Zilliqa. So here we have ZIL paired up with USDT, and we're on the one-day Binance chart. And we've seen a very aggressive sell-off recently, right? Since March 2024, ZIL's price has come down very aggressively. It's come down by 76.03%. And this has a lot of people concerned. Are we going to continue this downward pressure, or are we going to actually start seeing some kind of run to the upside? Well, Zilliqa's had a very interesting past. Back in 2021, we did see an all-time high at 25 cents. And since then, the price action has come down, well, very aggressively, right? We have obviously dropped down by 95.81% since, May 2021 through to August 2024. A lot of people holding ZIL tokens now are considering whether or not this is the investment for them and whether they want to be kind of dropping it for something else. Well, there's some interesting updates for Zilliqa, which I'll include a video right here where I go through some of the ZIL.2 updates and some of the things that they're looking to introduce. This could be a bit of a game changer for ZIL, and it could potentially mark the, I guess, dawn of a new era for this particular token. So let's take a look at the potential here. A lot of people are concerned, and I get it, you're down 95% from the top. And if you've been holding this entire time, well, it's not looking great. But the silver lining is that the corrective nature of everything that we've seen going on here tells me that we are likely to find a local bottom really soon. Don't get me wrong, we still have the potential for further slippage to the downside, and we might still have to come down quite aggressively before we get there. But that in itself presents a huge opportunity. As we kind of find these bottoms on these altcoins, it's important to note that this is where the value is. This is how we can see 11,000% in gains. So from the March 2020 low to the May 2021 high, it was 11,193% in gains. And that's because you're buying into the fear that is in the market. And at the moment, there's a fair amount of fear in the market for Zilliqa. So this could be a huge opportunity to buy into that fear. I do suspect that we are going to go down deeper and that we have got a bit more of a drop in store for ZIL. As you can currently see here, we're really fighting the resistances of the 50 EMA, 50 SMA on the daily time frame. Our stochastics are overbought on the daily time frame as well, so we're definitely not ready for going long on the market, but a huge opportunity for accumulation of what people are selling off could be a fantastic way to approach the market. So for Zilliqa, I do think there's a potential for a bit of a move to the downside. Now, I'm talking about this because in order for us to be really predictive over where the future goes for Zilliqa here, we have to first of all understand how low we can go. And taking a look at some of these previous markets, pandemic aside, we can see that we did have a very choppy market as we kind of bottomed out in December of 2019 before we got into a great run of early 2020. And I think this is kind of very similar to where we are right now, a very choppy kind of move to the downside. And I suspect that we're going to see this next continuation, this kind of move continuing and pushing us down a little bit deeper. And for the record, we note that there's some interest rate cuts over in the US during this moment of downturn in the market as well, pretty much since we had these highs up in June. So this market really bled out quite aggressively for Zilliqa during the interest rate cuts of June 2019. And of course, the pandemic didn't help things either. But we did bottom out, and it was quite a nice bottom here where we were accumulating at 0.004 approximately, and if you were able to get in right at the bottom there, it was 0.002. Okay, now where we are right now is a very interesting time for Zilliqa, because I do think if I zoom out of this, you can kind of see the choppy nature of what's been going on with these most recent lows. I suspect we're going to have another low coming in here, and that's going to mark the end of the correction. So I do think we're going to be coming down quite aggressively. Now, I think support's going to be found in and around this previous area of resistance. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mark this in. I'm just going to draw this in across here So you guys can see what I'm looking at specifically. Previous support, consolidating, turning it into resistance. And again, this upper area is resistance as well. This area obviously hasn't been tested for years. And I do think that this is an area where we have the potential for Zilliqa to go back towards, okay? So we are talking about the price action dropping lower than 1 cent. We'll be talking about 0.00979. I think we're not likely to go down to the lower side at 0.007, but man, that would be a hell of an opportunity if it does. Okay, now, do we think new all-time highs? Well, as long as we stay above the 2020 low, then technically speaking, it is a possible scenario for a new all-time high. And with some fundamental changes in terms of Zilliqa 2.0, there is that possibility that we do see, in fact, a fantastic run for Zilliqa in 2025. So in order for us to kind of gauge that, we need to obviously get our Fibonacci charts to plot out what that kind of looks like. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just zoom in here and snap to the 2021 high, which comes in right up here. And we're going to come on down and snap to the 2020 pandemic low. Okay, so that entire move is now measured from 0 to 1, or from 0% to 100%. And we have those extensions 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 6, 1, 3, 8, 2, and 1, 6, 1, 8. Okay, so here we can see if I move this over to our lower range expectations, which I'm going to put on the conservative 0.007 level, specifically because that's going to give us lower estimates, right? We want to basically have the lowest possible estimates, be conservative about our targets rather than be too optimistic. Now in here, there's some key areas of interest for me, right? Straight off the bat, we have to mark in what is typical. A typical three-wave correction will end between 1 and 1.236 on the Fib scales, right? So we're talking about 80 cents to $2.45. Now, this is, of course, a bit of the hopium. This is kind of what you wish for, and it will be a three-wave move from the downside into the upside, like so, okay? There's a big kind of three-wave structure. Now, that's what you hope for, but there's no guarantees of rallying like that. It does require a significant amount of demand coming in and a significant reason to see shrinkage of the supply. Now, there are a few fundamental changes, which, of course, you should go check out my review on Zilliqa 2.0 to understand what they are. But for the most part, I think we actually have some interesting ranges sat a little bit lower, specifically in this little range right here between 13.1 and 29.05. And this, to me, seems to be the area of focus. Okay, so yes, it has the possibility of hitting a new all-time high in that next upcoming bull market, but not necessarily all that far, specifically if we get rejected by that 786, which typically we find many cryptocurrencies doing. Now, the path that we get there could change that. It means that it could be brief resistance before rallying on through, but resistance could be found up there. The same with the 618. This is also an area where we are going to find a lot of traders wanting to kind of come out their positions. So what does that mean for Zilliqa? Well, it does mean that we'd have the ability to see, if we take that kind of 1 cent low level of about 12x, which will be pretty decent in itself, up towards maybe a 30x position or 28x position on that 786. If we did rally up to that slightly higher range, that there would basically be about an 80x position, around 80 cents. And of course, if we move up a little bit further, you'll be looking at 24,500% if you were to move up to the to $2.45, which I don't think is highly probable. But nonetheless, I think a nice 12 to 30x position would actually be very, very reasonable, right? If you're able to get in at 1 cent, you can target out that kind of idea of 13 to 30 cents, and that would be a fantastic place to be. So when we think about altcoins and we think about the potential that there is, we kind of think 100x altcoins or 1000x altcoins, but actually a lot of the majority of investors actually only really need somewhere between kind of 10 and 30x, and most portfolios on average are going to have some higher performers and some lower performers, and typically actually average out at 30 overall. So a 30x potential for Zilliqa in that next bullish market, to me, seems like a bit of a no-brainer. And so I'm looking at the market for Zil and I think, yeah, actually, I'm not that fussed about its current price action. It just means more accumulating more Zilliqa tokens at those kind of lower levels. Anything lower than a cent is going to be, in my opinion, a bit of a steal. And I do think we're going to lose that 1 cent level, so we want to be loading up as much as we can, in my humble opinion. But of course, that is all it is. It is just my opinion on what I think is going on with Zilliqa. What is yours? Let me know in the comments down below, or join us in our free Discord server linked in the description. Would love to hear from you. And if you haven't done so already, guys, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and check this video out right here. It's not one you're going to want to miss.